Call the City Council meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I believe we have Pastor Gerald Bergen from the Fremont Lutheran Church for the invocation. Thank you.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, remind us that who we are and the rights we have come from you. That helps us to be submissive to your authority. Keep us from the temptation of pushing you out of the conversation in public meetings, whereby a vacuum is left which is filled by those searching earnestly for power, and our quality of life deteriorates. May we not be ashamed of our faith in you. May we turn to you for wisdom. You are our God, and we believe in the right of everyone to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and property. Keep us strong in the Judeo-Christian values that our country was founded on. May we use those values and logic in solving the challenges that lie ahead. May we care about our neighbors and help them to develop their God-given talents. As our life goes on, continue to shed your grace upon us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. You don't want to stick around for the whole meeting? Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Very good. Next item is public input. Anybody here for public input? Amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
You will move item number
889, executive session. We're going to move that to number 11, other. Any others? Approval of the minutes for March 3rd and April 7th, 2014 regular council meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved. Seconded.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, mayor's report. I don't think we have anything from the mayor's report, do we? The mayor didn't give me anything.
I don't think
Committee appointments. You have a list of committee appointments in front of you. Library Board, Phyllis Gelling, John Leaf, Mary Parker. Housing Authority Board, Sarah Toll. Recreation Advisory, Nick Brumbaugh. Excuse me. Planning and Zoning Commission, Jeff Kurtz and Mark Anderson. Board of Zoning Appeals, Jay Jensen. Cemetery Board, Roy Leister. Golf Course, Tim Rhodes. Howard Kaler, Ron Rolander. Public Safety, Tim Berggren, Delvin Coons, Jim Osner. Sister City, Dean Anderson. Tree Board, Ann Kading, Keith Camp. Convention Visitor Bureau Advisory Board, Sarah Ash and Sue Schlegel. The Sunstrom Conference Center Advisory Board, Kathy Toll. Is there a motion to approve? Second. Any discussion?
Just one question, that doesn't represent a move from P and Z to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals Associations and go on both. Is that
it will be
right?
on both. And we're required to have one member of planning and zoning serve on the board of zoning appeals also.
And who are the other two members on the Board of Zoning Appeals?
The other four members,
Ken Swisher, Norm Dower,
thank you. Terry Nation.
Terry Nation, and Trump went to.
So there's five?
There are five.
It's a woman, is it?
But isn't Ken Swisher already on board of planning and zoning?
Yes,
So there's two.
there's two.
How come that is?
I guess because he's been appointed and approved. I don't have a better answer than that.
Well, it just seems to me it's not a good policy to have someone go for planning and zoning and let's say be turned down, go to zoning appeals and have two of the same council members there.
But planning and zoning and board of zoning appeals do not handle the same issues. The Board of Zoning Appeals deals more with variances to the existing regulations as a separate board. If someone goes to planning and zoning and they are turned down, that then comes to city council, whether it's turned down or recommended for approval for final action. The Board of Zoning Appeals, if they're denied, their recourse is not to planning and zoning, it would be to district court. City council doesn't even have a say in the final. The decisions are binding unless overridden by a district court or a Board of Zoning Appeals.
That's all fine, but then why is it important to have one person on both?
Because it's required by bylaws and statute.
Statute of city statute?
No, we don't have ordinances, it's Kansas statute.
Okay, thank you.
Ken Peterson.
Ken Peterson's the fifth member. Thank you, Gary.
Any other discussion? We need a roll call on this?
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, passed. Appointed officer. City Administrator Greg Dumars, City Clerk Jerry Sperling, Director of Public Safety Tim Berggren, Director of Public Works Tim Dunn, Director of Recreation Kate Elliott, City Attorney William Cassinius, Municipal Judge Barry Price, Fire Chief Ken Ebling, Treasurer Larry Lindgren. I should know that one better than that. Sorry, Larry. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Council President, I don't see how we need to do a vote. Council President.
Need to, have a nomination of one or more candidates for council president.
All right. Any nominations for Council President?
I'll nominate you, Greg.
Chief, thanks, I think. Very well. Any other nominations?
You accept the nomination?
I'm waiting for another one. Okay. Well,
So moved.
I guess can I do this myself? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, please?
I'd like the record to show it was unanimous.
I didn't vote. Thank you. The next item is proclamation. This is National Nursing Home Week, May 11th through the 17th, 2014. Whereas our valued citizens of Lindsborg, Kansas, staying in skilled nursing or post-acute care centers, have made important contributions to the success and growth of our community. And whereas care center residents and patients of any age or ability are themselves living history and a precious resource. And whereas skilled nursing care centers of the American Healthcare Association and the Leading Age Kansas are holding events in observance of National Nursing Home Week, guided by this year's theme of living the Aloha Spirit. And whereas my administration is committed to improving programs that assist older Americans and people with disabilities in achieving their goals. And we embrace the Aloha Spirit to show older adults and persons with disabilities patience, kindness, respect, and compassion. Therefore, do I, Rick Martin, as City Council President of the City of Lindsborg, declare the week of May 11th to 17th, 2014 as National Home Week and adopt as Nursing Home Week and adopt the theme of living the Aloha Spirit as our call to everyone to visit or contact their loved ones, friends, or neighbors in a skilled nursing or post-acute care center as a way to acknowledge their contributions to society and to lift the spirits of caregivers who value the community's involvement. This date is 5th day of May 2014. May meetings, I think everybody's got a copy of the May meetings in front of them. Are there any additions to any of these meetings? No, Greg?
No, I just want to remind everybody about a week from tonight, CIP work session. And then we have another work session on May 29th.
Is that with P&Z?
No, P&Z will not be part of that one.
What's the meeting with them?
We don't have one scheduled planning.
I thought we were going to schedule soon. After our meeting with them.
I misunderstood that part of it.
It's an intentional thing that we do need to come together and talk about. Land.
Well, my understanding was part of it was get training for everybody and then come together.
So is the training session for us the 29th? Or is
Yes.
that on strategic planning and follow up on the city survey?
On the 29th, it is for City Council to discuss Harrison Cole corridor concepts and training component with it.
So not city survey?
No.
Excuse me for asking, but Monday, the 12th, next week, Monday, we have a meeting?
Yes.
What
Capital
time?
improvement program.
Excuse me?
That's for the capital improvements.
Okay, what time is that?
5:30.
5:30, yeah.
In the evening?
Yes.
Yes.
That's under concentration.
Every year.
And of course, we also have our regular committee meetings, May 22nd, or May 20th and May 22nd.
Is the work session on the 29th going to be facilitated?
Yes.
And that's the one that Jerry is looking for a person to facilitate that meeting?
Now, she was looking for someone from planning and zoning. We have a facilitator for the 29th.
The council is not involved in
On the 29th, it is council. But you're talking about,
that. P&Z meeting.
their meeting is strictly training, period. No facility, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? As far as the other, we have a certificate of appreciation for Roland Christensen. This is for, I'll just stand up there and read this. Just want to come up for pictures. Gary? You want to stand up here? Where's it good for you, Dan? Right up here. There we go. This certificate of appreciation from the city of Lindsborg awarded to Roland Christensen, retiring chairman of the Lindsborg Tree Board, serving the city for 16 years through his spirit of volunteerism, dedication, and hard work. Awarded this 5th day of May 2014. Congratulations. Take one more. Do you have a speech?
I have a,
Oh, good. Come right up here, get you the microphone.
okay. Members of the Lindsborg City Council. I'm really honored by the recognition you made tonight. It is a enormous honor, but it doesn't belong to me alone. You see, what happened during those years that I served, a lot of things occurred because there was so much support from the council. It's been a privilege for me to serve on the church, the board, the tree board. I love trees, and I love to work with them. I also love the city of Lindsborg. And as a result, I had a good time in the process of being on that board. But as I served, I was pleased to find the support that this council gives to the tree board. The staff, the city staff that are a part of serving the tree board have indeed done a marvelous job. They give guidance, they do a lot of work, and as a result of the work that they do, there's a lot of progress that's made and recognition being made throughout the state about what happens in Lindsborg. I want to say thank you for the privilege, and that is truly a privilege as far as I'm concerned, to have been able to serve. And you have supported the board in all its many of its ways. And we have also a tremendous group of people on board, that are members of that board. And together, everyone has made a commitment, and the work has been done because everybody is a part of it. So everybody deserves that recognition. Thank you, thank you. We love Lindsborg. Lindsborg is a beautiful city. Let's just keep it that way. Thank you, thank you.
Next item is planning and zoning. I've just been told there's nothing to report from planning and zoning right now. Moving on, committee reports, administration and finance. Lengthy.
Can I just ask one question? With the appointments that we just had, Mark Anderson and someone else, so we now have 10 members for that board?
No, we have 9.
No,
Did
it's
somebody
full
go
board.
off?
Yes, Tony Thompson was not reappointed.
Okay, thank you.
Administration, administration finance. Oh, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. The first item is Resolution 214 about the public building bonds for Sunstone. Do you want to talk to that, or do you anyone else want to talk to that?
Well, we have, as you have in front of you in the packet, Resolution 02-14, which is offering general obligation bonds for the construction of the Sunstone Conference Center, and I will turn it over to Chuck Willie. He's with George K. Baum, who is the city's financial advisor, and we work with him in this process. With that,
I'll kind of just briefly talk about it, and then I'll answer any questions you might have. But basically, we issued temporary notice originally to finance the improvements to the Sunstone building. And now that it's complete, we have the final cost, we're ready to do permanent financing. And this resolution authorizes the sale of $2,635,000 general obligation bonds, to pay for those costs, and pay off the notes, and pay the balance of the costs. Designates us as your financial advisor, and authorizes us and the staff to publish the proper notices, notify potential bidders, and come back to you with bids on your bonds at, I think, your first June meeting. So that's kind of what the resolution does in quick summary.
Yeah, move we approve resolution number 214.
Second. Roll call on this one.
Yes.
Greg, roll call.
Kelly?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Blaine?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
W.R.?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Eno?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes. All right, next item is resolution 314. Continuing disclosure undertaking. Can we talk about that?
Sure.
Okay.
People might help just a little bit closer to you there, talking quiet.
People shorter. There. In your previous bond issues, let me back up. In the municipal market today, they're requiring more and more disclosure by individual issuers, financial information, they call it operating data. So now there's a process in place where all issuers of tax exempt bonds have to file annually a report, which is your financial information, your audit, and then what they call operating data. The last couple of bond issues you've done have, you've taken action to do that. This omnibus resolution just kind of cleans all that up. How can I get called for a housekeeping action or anything? Kind of cleans all that up and says, these are the procedures you're going to do on your past bond issues and future bond issues. So you have one set of rules instead of a different set for each bond issue. So that's in essence what this does. It's suggested by your bond attorneys that you approve this, and that would be a matter of record for the future.
All right. I move we approve resolution 314.
For a second.
Second.
Roll call.
I did have a question. So with this omnibus disclosure, we won't have to file another omnibus disclosure. This is our governing document for any future.
One time deal.
Okay.
So they change the rules again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a motion, second, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Becky?
Yes.
Eno?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
W.R.?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Blaine?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
The next item is an application for a cereal malt beverage permit from the Midsummer's Committee. We have complied with everything, so this is a motion to approve this permit request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
All right, next item is a request for funds for the Sunstrom office and second floor furnishings in the amount of $8,010. Do we need to talk to this? Holly, you want to say anything about this?
What we presented to you included research that we did on Sunstrom's furnishings for the second floor lobby and for the main floor office. We looked at different options, including things like office mats. We found very poor quality but very low prices. We ended up looking at the same company that provided the furnishings for the city building as being our best option because they can provide a government discount that was extremely good compared to anything else we could get. We did price other places, but we found that to be our best option for the quality. As far as upstairs furnishings, we looked at different options and trying to stay within our county. We looked at a Lindsborg product as being a good product that was well built, Camp's Furniture out of Salina ended up giving us the best price because it included a 5-year warranty that covers any and everything that can happen to the furniture, from upholstery to tears to wood portions to breakdown of seating materials, all kinds of different things. Their bid ended up being just a small amount higher than Burnett's Furniture. I went first, and that Burnett's did not cover the warranty at all. So that extra $50 was an easy amount for me to consider. Any other questions you have?
This is a motion to approve.
8,010.
8,010. Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
The price is listed on there, those typical high-quality furniture, I mean, $500 for that, those smaller chairs seem high to me.
That's actually very reasonable.
Like I say, I don't buy furniture like that, so I would assume, you've done your homework.
I looked at products that I thought would last us for the long haul. You can go to Ashley Furniture somewhere and probably get a better price, but you're looking at something that might last 2 years and that is
Okay.
kind of where it's.
Good deal.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Roll call, Rick.
Kelly,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Blaine. Yes. Rick,
Yes.
W.R.
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Email,
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next item is purchase of a hand washing sink for the second floor according to Kansas Health Department standards in the amount of $3,625. That is a motion to approve the purchase of this.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I guess, wow, I mean, the plumbing is available, but that doesn't mean the plumbing is done, it means it's available. So that's part of the expense to put in the sink. I was surprised that the sink was going to cost $3,600, I guess.
Maybe part of the modification is, we also have to modify the door. Can you help at all, it has to be swinging
Has to be a
door,
swinging door because of them washing that.
and it has to have a light or glass.
Glass.
So we've got that added to the mix. I think we're also putting in a little bit of cabinetry for anticipation of a serving kitchen at some point. I don't think that. It's more than just a hand wash.
Okay, that's good to know.
It's more than the same.
I just assumed it was made out of hardwood.
Okay, we did have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Becky,
Yes.
Email,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
W.R.
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Blaine,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Motion passed.
The next item is Kansas Rural Housing Conference membership, $500. As we continue to try to get into additional housing for Lindsborg. Gary, did you put this? Yeah, Gary and Greg went to this conference and felt that it was a worthwhile thing if we want to be in this game. And so that is a motion that we join this for $500.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yes. Any discussion?
And this is a yearly membership.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Calendar year or whenever you join, it's good for a year?
As far as I understand, it's good for a year. And these conferences are called at not really regular times. We had the one that we attended in the first was off schedule, so to speak. I attended the full one conference, the first one in December. It was really well attended. This is a good group and allows us to sit at the table with all of those rural entities that are faced with the same kind of problems that we are.
And this Jason Van Sickle, Can I explain who he is?
Well, he's a developer from Wichita who decided to kind of branch out a little bit on multifamily housing. And he has a model that does not rely on any kind of housing tax credits or incentives. And they were constructed, I think, completed last year in Wichita, a large development in the United States. He's trying to bring that model, or take that model to smaller rural communities. He does it as small as a 24-unit complex. In the meantime, he's drawing together entities from across the state, developers, builders, municipalities, to get a conversation going about what the best way is to get this market demand met in Kansas. I certainly see Lindsborg as being part of the discussion. Greg, do you have any comments about the first meeting? It was attended primarily by the person in the city.
Yeah, there was predominantly the person city, the person community, the person industry. Of course, Gary and I from Lindsborg, the mayor and city administrator from Outreach was there, but the predominant people were from community in person. There were some developers in the room besides Jason Van Sickle. We did have a conversation with one of them that is getting ready to start a project in person and said they want to get this one done and then they would like to visit with us after that. So it's a different model, but using RHID and our rural housing incentive district is what the as an incentive piece. I think it has some potential. It also brings in resources from rural development, Department of Commerce, not Department of Commerce, housing.
Kansas has a
Yeah. Yeah, we have a motion.
I think we have a motion. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
WR? Yes. David?
Yes.
Email?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes?
Rick?
Yes.
Blaine? Yes. Betty?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next item is a request to redo the wall, the north wall in Sunstrom with a tune of $4,550. The brick wall was the only thing left. That is a motion to approve that expenditure.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion?
Is finishing that with sheet rock to offer soundproofing or to help with sound reduction?
It was ugly.
It was primarily aesthetic.
Yeah.
Tar.
It's really, it was.
I think that was my only question. I guess the other thing I would have, I don't know if it's not about the wall, but has the sound issue been resolved between first and second floor? Where are we on that?
No, I'm working on that. We've got two options. We don't have anything to bring to the table at this point.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Rick?
Yes.
Blaine? Yes. Betty?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
WR? David? Yes. Email?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item number 8 is a Harrison Coal rezone moratorium. I am assuming that you've all read the letter. Yes?
The letter.
The letter that's in the information.
It was emailed to us as well.
What?
It was emailed.
It was included in the Friday report and is also included in the packet.
Okay. So this is, get this on the table. This is a motion that we approve this Harrison Cole rezone moratorium.
Second.
Any discussion?
For clarification for my purposes, as it's listed in the letter, with the specification of 90 days and for uses, it says land uses exceeding 9,999 square feet. I'm just clarifying, because whether we want building uses or land uses or from a motion purpose standpoint, and then I know I sound like I'm splitting hairs, but there is a distinction.
No, go ahead. Dan wanted to ask a question, but if you want to clarify his question first.
As it's in
No,
the,
I'm just reading what's here.
Okay.
This is a clarification that we as a council need to talk about. And what makes sense for us. And sorry, Dan.
I was just looking at an effective date. Tonight.
I guess if it was passed, it would be tonight. Would it be tonight? If it was passed, it would be tonight.
Since I'm the one that put this together, I guess I'd say I felt like we needed I felt like 90 days would do two things. 90 days kind of puts a little bit of pressure on us to sit down as a group and decide what we are visioning for Harrison Cole. The other thing that it, of course, does is if there's a moratorium on land use, while we can't dictate what type of business might land there, if it's in accordance with our current P&Z, I think there are other things we need to look at. The size of how much concrete expanse for a parking lot there is, what kind of signage was allowed. Is it lighted signage? How tall can it be? What is our vision as a city for what Harrison Cole can be? And I was fearful that if we weren't able to suspend activity, that we were all going to wake up surprised again, like we were a few weeks ago when we learned that there was the potential for a big box store to occupy a very desirable piece of real estate on Harrison Cole. So that is what drove me to this. This puts the pressure on us to come together as a group and make some decisions about what we want. So somebody doesn't make them for us. Like I said in my letter, I think that I don't believe broad strokes of change made impulsively or in fear should be a standard, nor do I believe relying on a vision nearly 10 years old is advisable. What is standard is a consensus, and what is wise is a plan.
Well said. What do you need, a motion, second?
we have a motion and a second. 90-day moratorium effective this evening, if passed, for land, moratorium on land uses exceeding 9,999 square feet along the Harrison Cole corridor.
And I'll explain where that 999,000
That was my next question.
came from. Yeah, 9,999 square feet came from. I called and visited with a couple of people. I visited with the new landowners of the parcel on Harrison Cole, and I spoke with Jay Jensen as chair of planning and zoning, and said, this is what I'm thinking about, give me some help, give me some guidance, what makes good sense. He was fearful that if it was just a blanket moratorium without a space designation, and he's the one that said 9,999, and his face that makes for interesting reading, like what was she thinking? But he was afraid if there wasn't that it would get in the way of a James Coy or a Mike Sample that have already invested in improvements on the highway, of them moving ahead with something, even if something like putting up a fence. So I said, okay, well, what's reasonable then to slow down what I am fearful of happening? And he said, well, if you take, for instance, a residential housing lot that's 100 by 150, he said anything bigger than that maybe invites that. So that's how I came to that number. Most important to me is the 90-day moratorium on land use.
I was gonna say 100 by 150 would be more than 9,999. Wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, we would be making it where nobody could change even a small housing lot. We need to change that to a higher number, I think. If we have anybody even considering that, are we aware of anybody considering any rezoning requests?
Obviously, the one that came to mind right away was the new owner of that parcel across the street from
Yeah,
Scott's.
I meant.
And that's why I visited with them. Anything else I wouldn't be privy to.
Well, that's why I was concerned about somebody else that we don't know about.
My interpretation of this, it may as well be a blanket, because I'm not sure we have any lot sizes that are 9,999 square feet or less.
Yeah.
It's talking land use, not building size.
But it does say land use exceeding that, so there will be a lot of things that exceed that.
Everything exceeds that out there, so there could be no rezones, because we're talking land use, not building size.
Okay, so let's say somebody that lives there now wants to put up a fence, and there's a moratorium on Harrison corridor. Does that mean that the exemption could not be granted?
What it means is, if a fence is allowed in that zoning district, they can go ahead and put up a fence. The only thing you're asking for a moratorium on is rezone requests. So if something is, let's say I-2 right now, and you want to rezone it to a commercial designation, that cannot happen under this moratorium. But if something is I-2 and it allows a fence, and I-2 does allow a fence, and they want to build a fence, all they have to do is secure a building permit for a fence. It doesn't prohibit that kind of activity. Anything that's allowed in the existing zoning district can still happen. So if something is R3, you could put a multifamily in it right now because it doesn't have to be rezoned. Or if it is C3, it can happen because it doesn't have to be rezoned. It is only when you're wanting to change that land use from one zoning classification to another. That is what is covering the 90-day, or covered in this motion, as I interpret it.
I agree. You're talking about a change in use only, and there's a lot of uses that can be implemented without a change in the zoning use.
Well, then knowing what the goal is, or the purpose, is this specific enough or too specific, or is it not broad enough?
Well, I'm not sure what the goal is, so that's your decision.
Okay.
I guess my question then goes back to P&Z. I mean, you said you talked to the chairman, but is this something, I mean, if we impose this moratorium, that with these stipulations, that pretty much just shuts down P&Z for the most part?
Just like Harrison Coal.
Well, yeah, there's the coal, but
Jay welcomed it. I mean, he welcomed that. That's why I asked.
I guess should it involve all of P&Z or just the chairman to make that decision for the entire P&Z?
Well, as council, I think we can direct that.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think this is a council decision at this point. I have not researched the legalities of doing it, but off the top of my head, I don't see any problem with doing it as long as it's a relatively short-range process. You don't want to say that for the next 2 years, you're not going to consider any planning and zoning changes out there. But if it's something that you want to study, I think the council can make that decision on their own. A 90-day moratorium on this isn't going to be a huge delay in what the process would amount to anyway. So I don't see a particular problem with this legally, but I do think it's a council's decision. I don't know that it's necessarily a back and forth with P&Z at this point.
I think it's just another notice for us as councils. We have got to get this house out of here. We've got to have discussion. We've got, and so we can have a discussion by ourselves, but I still think that whatever it is that we decide, we need to include P&Z in this. We need to have this discussion with them so they make sure that they do
So,
Are you speaking for this or against?
I'm speaking for this. I don't think it's going to be an onerous kind of thing for us at all. And, but I think it is saying to the world, okay, we really need to discuss Harrison Bowl.
I don't want to be in a position again of, as a member of city council, of not having a clear-cut answer when somebody says, can they do that? I guess I did have a clear-cut answer. Yes, they can do that. If a big box store wants to build there, they can, because there's nothing saying in our vision, in our strategic plan, in our comprehensive plan, that they can't. But, so, that's what we need to look at. Can we say, store XYZ, we don't want you here? No. But can we say, you can't have more than X number of square yards of a concrete parking lot, or your sign can't be illuminated, and it can't stand any higher than whatever? We have reviews, we have design standards that match a concept of what we want Harrison Pool to look like. And if you can make your XYZ store look like this, then yes, it's okay. But until we have that, we can't do that.
But is that part of actual zoning? I thought that was more like a neighborhood plan or something, not so much zoning.
But you still have to have a plan, and we don't. And until we do, planning and zoning has no choice but to follow the existing zoning laws there.
But in our current zoning regulations, depending on your zone, there are regulations for signs, there are regulations for fences, there are regulations for minimum parking or maximum parking. There are design, we have design standards for downtown.
Yes.
But we don't particularly have them on Harrison Pool, other than having to get your sign approved. As it
We're talking about
currently exists.
manipulating the definitions of C3 or whatever else.
Well,
I just making sure how.
potentially.
I'm just
Yes.
making sure that I understand how the end answer is to fixing this as proposed is going to
I think part of it is clarifying the vision, not necessarily, what was the phrase you used again, manipulating. I see it more as, let's clarify the vision so everybody's on the same page.
I agree with that too. I don't see why we have to have this thing that you're proposing. I think we need to get planning and zoning, do these things that are part of our ongoing plan.
Well, if I may, I think we found ourselves caught in a lurch with lack of understanding, lack of training, not only for the council, but for the zoning board, because we all found ourselves reaching for answers that we just couldn't quite get to or didn't understand. And I see this as a reasonable request, if nothing more than an instrument to say, okay, it's time to stop, pause, educate ourselves, and with that education, move forward with a good plan and a good understanding of what everybody's responsibilities both are on the council and the board. And that if that means coming together after we've had our training sessions and we jointly work with the planning and zoning group so that we have a good cohesive understanding going forward, we're probably going to be more successful in what we're trying to achieve. This isn't onerous. It's good faith requests. Say let's stop, take a breath, and educate ourselves, and then sit down and try and make a plan.
And it's not unusual. In doing the research, it happens a lot. The city council or city government will issue a moratorium. Nothing changes until the plan is done. It's not that unusual.
And I don't know if the plan will ever be done, but at least maybe we can get some good direction toward the plan.
I can't think of anything negative against this that would cause a problem. And is there any legal ramifications to this bill?
Well, as I said, I haven't really researched it legally, but off the top of my head, I don't, on a short-term basis, I can't imagine that this is a serious problem. If it went 2 years, yeah, then you might be facing.
Yeah, but we're talking 90 days.
90 days, I don't see a particular problem.
And we don't know of anybody that's wanting anything done, that this is the arbitrate at this time, or be aware of rumors, do you know?
No.
You never know what's gonna come in the office.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
What stops that?
Even after training, and even after getting P and Z and council together, and we have a vision, we still don't know what's gonna come across the desk that somebody's gonna want.
And
I really don't, I'm not in favor of this at all.
And I don't disagree with what you're saying, but what I do disagree with is when someone other than myself represents to the community that I, as a council member, am on board with a big box store coming to town simply because of a strategic plan that's 10 years old. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right for someone representing me to say, well, council agrees, council is for this, council thinks it's good. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So I want, as a council, all of us to be on some sort of a same page that says, this is our vision, this is our plan.
Well, really, you're just asking for time to review that. to see-
Exactly.
Because we have no idea what that situation is, or what all of us would decide,
That's
if
right.
anything, if there can even be.
But I think we have some idea of what we don't want to see.
Yeah.
So those are the types of things we need to get down.
But even so, this is just to give us some time to try to find out the facts, how everybody feels back, come to some kind of consensus if we can. Is 90 days necessary? Would it be better to do 45 and then renew it next council, go each session by session maybe, until we feel that there's enough of us that feels resolved to forego?
I think given the fact that we're entering budget season, we're going to have a lot of extra meetings already, and to try and tackle budget and a portion of a strategic plan in less than 90 days. I think 90 days is a good time to put the pressure on us without being unreasonable.
Bill, get a comment?
Yeah, and that is in response to what Neil was saying. If you adopt a moratorium this month and something comes in you want to do, you can revoke your moratorium next month. So when you say 90 days now, that's not a binding thing. It can be amended by code, so.
And I think this is a new.
That kind of throws out the whole philosophy of.
Sure it does, but this is a resolution that the council can change its mind at any time.
Well, and again, as long as they fit within the current zoning that there is now, there is no issues. There's no issue, correct? I mean, how many different zone classifications are there that we're talking about anyway?
Along Harrison Court.
Yeah.
Two, C3 commercial zoning district and R3 multifamily zoning district.
Yeah, we have some industrial on it too.
Isn't there an I-2 down there on
Yeah,
Union?
that's-
But it's stuck behind. The front half of that property is
Yeah,
C3,
okay.
and then the back side's I2.
Okay.
You know, one of the other things, and people brought this up, about incentives. When we looked at that neighborhood revitalization, it had more. So if we want to see some things happening, we've been kind of always, not so much been talking about housing development as we've been talking about commercial development. And so if you're talking multifamily, that is, to me, that's kind of a quasi-commercial and quasi-residential. And it seems to be a way that we need to be going. And if you look out of Harrison Poll, and what are the options that are out there? We don't have many places like that left within the city confines. And so I think it is worthy of special consideration and special look at what do we want to see happening out there when it comes to signage, when it comes to incentives, when it comes to use of utilities, the options that there are. We talked about how we're growing, or there are so many issues that come into play. Out there, and I think it's going to take intentional special time for this council to wrestle with some of that. And as Bill said, some beyond all wonderful things could happen, and somebody who says, oh, I want to do this, and they'll go, oh my gosh, get rid of that moratorium right now. And we can do that. But I think to me, it is putting us on notice that we need to look at this. We need to look at this corner out there and see what potential it has for us.
I wanted to ask another question. Greg, if somebody came in and they said, hey, I want to rezone this property on Harrison and go R3 so I can build this, is it going to be just a simple, hey, there's a moratorium, see you later? I mean, can we have a little bit of information to give to those people that not just leave it at that, but actually explain it to the person what's going on right now, the situation somewhat, so that they're not put off by that as something.
Well, I don't think we're going to condemn this now, and it's not allowed use, that we just sit there and say, sorry, you can't do that. I mean, we'll explain to them the rezone process, but in this particular instance, yeah, we would say we have a 90-day moratorium. We're not considering anything for rezoning at this point in time, trying to define how we want this corridor to develop some of the guidelines associated with it. It became effective here, it ends here.
Okay, that would be explained like that, that's a temporary thing.
Yes, yes.
I really think that we could become very two-faced on this, where we impose a moratorium for all of the good things that you have in the letter. But then we have somebody come in with something we like. We get rid of the moratorium and forget about all the special planning, the this and that, because we like it. And we don't have our plan done yet. It's not the end of 90 days. I'm sorry. I cannot agree to this.
Just because somebody approaches us, and it's the most wonderful thing since sliced bread, doesn't mean that we have to vote for it. But
I understand that.
But what I think is really.
But we're sure going to consider it, because we have people
Hey,
that
listen,
think.
we're in a place where we cannot afford not to consider everything. Because we are really not doing well when it comes to housing. And this is all, in my mind, this is all about housing. And how do we get off the dime here? How do we grow this city to 5,000 people in 10 years? Come on, what's that going to be? And we have got to start getting biting off some things, low-hanging fruit, whatever you want to call it. But I think that this council needs to go and step out and say, we are really going to study this, and we're going to do some things that are going to affect change.
And Rick, I think that's exactly what this does. Like I said, I think it puts the pressure on us to work on it, to move in a direction and decide what we want, and not let somebody with a plan, whether it's a 40 apartment complex or whether it's a big box store, let's not let somebody else decide for us. Let's decide what we want. We're the council. We represent the entire community. Let's not let somebody else make the decision for us. I have never had the phone calls that dropped by my office, the emails that I had in all the years I've been on council that the issue of a few weeks ago brought to me. People were upset, and all I could say, well, you can just veto it. No, I don't have a leg to stand on. I don't have a leg to stand on to say, no, big box store, you're not welcome. That's what this is about. This is to make us get off the dime, talk about it, develop a plan, and get it done, because we've only got 90 days to do it.
I guess I understand Rick's point with it really can't bite to do this, and then 2 weeks later we vote it, but I would hope that most people that would be interested in investing that kind of money in our city would be willing to wait 3 months. I would hope. And if
Depends on
not,
what they want to put in, how soon they want to get started, how soon they want to start the process.
but that is why I brought up the revote thing, just, I wanted to know if it was flexible to see.
Yeah, and I understand that, but,
Yeah.
if we don't have our strategic plan, we don't have completed, we don't have a new comprehensive plan, and like I said, I mean, some of you said it just now, if something comes in and we all agree that we like it, let's do it, whether the plan's done or not. I don't agree with that.
just a couple of points. As the motion as it currently stands, if I own an R3 property, I can come in, and as long as I'm within the guidelines of that zoning district, I can do whatever I want. Same way with C3.
So if they're.
So if you're wanting to put everything on hold for 90 days, this motion doesn't do it. The second point I want to make is, if you think you're going to have a plan in 90 days, you're pretty optimistic. Even if we met every day, it's going to be pretty hard to get that full plan put together. I mean, just because statutorily, the process, it first has to go through a hearing process through planning and zoning. Once you do that, once they have their hearing, and assuming they approve it, then we have to allow another 14 days for protest before it can come in front of council for decision. So you're developing a plan and you're pretty well in consensus. Well, then the notice of hearing is 20 days. And then you have 14 days. So essentially, there's just over a month or about 34 days. So you're now down to about 60 days to get a plan put together and ready for a hearing. So I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I'm just trying to get you to understand the logistics of getting a plan in place.
Looking at how cities work, kind of like watching paint dry. Okay? If we are not under the gun, then we have a tendency to say, well, didn't get it done this month, we'll do it next month. And I think that there is a somewhat urgency because we've got a housing problem. And when you're talking about land use, which is something that I really wish I understood better than I understand. But that's what we're talking about here. We're talking, as I understand it, we're talking about land use of that order. And what do we want it to be? And if we say this is what we want it to be, then, and if we do incentives, aren't those two things going to be tied together?
The incentive program would be.
Yes and no, but
revitalization plan, which is under 27.
You're mixing land use with policy. That's not a fair assessment. Land use is with the land. Your incentive programs don't have the same, so the slowdown in the process is just following the statutory requirements. And my point in that is not saying, I understand your comments, and yes, things don't move quickly with the city, but my point in making that comment is just getting the general plan together, then going through the statutory process to get it approved is probably going to take more than 90 days, even if we work on it extremely aggressively, was my point in my comment. These can be parallel conversations, they overlap in some ways, but they're adopted totally differently. Planning and zoning has nothing to do with the incentive programs, and they have everything to do with land use.
But is it fair to say that in 90 days, we might be down to 2 or 4 opinions instead of 10 or 12 or 8 or 9? I mean, I think that as we sat down and discussed what we would like to vision, what we would like to see, there is good potential for some coming together and mutual understanding about what could develop and what could happen.
I would agree.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, I would agree.
I mean, there's
I just didn't want to
a
create.
starting point because I felt like a train was bearing down on me and I wanted to slow it down, and this was the only thing I could come up with. If anybody has a better idea, please.
And I think we're saying the same things over.
I think so. We have a motion, second, and we had quite a bit of discussion. I'm going to do a roll call.
Roll call, okay. W.R.?
Yes.
David?
No.
Email?
No.
Becky?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Blaine?
Yes.
Rick?
No.
That's 5 yeses, 3 noes. Everybody have the same deal? Motion passes. Get the fire report exactly what beginning this basically today, and the ending will get that, so you have a reference.
So let me just go back one more time. This meeting on the 29th, it's CIP on the 12th.
Correct.
The 29th, is this what? Land use? What are we talking about?
Okay, it's for city council to sit and discuss their visions of Harrison Cole, and also the operating procedures. It's an educational component of how city council works with other committees, et cetera, and their authority with those committees.
And this will be facilitated?
Yes.
Do we have a facilitator?
Yes, we do, John Devine.
Who?
John Devine,
John Devine.
yes.
And when Emil had brought this up about incentives, will we be able to have that kind of discussion? What are some options out there? You know, I mean, I don't even know what they are. But I talked to a couple people and I said, would incentives help you make a decision on a go or no go on a project? Depends on what the incentives are.
Yeah.
But, I mean, seriously. I mean, I don't know the ramifications of say, oh, we're just gonna give you property tax abatement for 10 years. What does that mean? What on a $1 million project, what kind of dollars are we talking about? That kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, we can.
I'm not saying,
Yeah.
I don't want answers, I'm just
I know.
saying, will incentives be a part of that discussion that night?
Yes, they sure can.
Thank you.
In fact, I've been asked to include incentives as part of the committee discussions during the May committee meetings also, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, number 9, we move that to,
Just for one second.
move that to the executive session, to the other at the end of the meeting, but yeah,
I'm sorry. You know, my recommendation as we move through this process is that we hire, for the whole process, an outside facilitator. I mean, we have one for the meeting, we're going to have someone come in and train planning and zoning, but I think this whole process needs an outside facilitator to work, one to keep us on task, and that can do some of the legwork outside of the meetings in conjunction with staff, and then help us get through the
And
process.
by the 29th, will we have the survey results and a report?
We are supposed to get the draft results tomorrow. We're supposed to get them. I haven't heard one way or the other whether we will or not. I don't have the schedule in front of me. I'm thinking we're supposed to have the final results somewhere around, actually, I think it's around June 2nd, our first council meeting, if I remember correct. But
Do you want some okay from us to get this facilitator, or?
no, I'll find one, and then you'll have to do this when I bring it to you.
All right. All right, okay.
Well, it would be good, and probably, I mean, I would think, I can't remember all those questions, so, but hopefully there is some community guidance in that survey about some
Oh,
of the
yes,
issues
yeah.
that we're going to be talking about, so it would be good to have
Yeah.
that information. Okay.
any others, Becky?
No.
Okay, great, nothing else? Administration plans? Utilities committee?
Okay, this is dealing with the Kansas Municipal Energy Agency, KMEA, and is talking about different levels of interest in supplying us with, with electricity. We've gone through one phase, which cost the city nothing, but if we're going into phase 2, I'll let Greg talk a little bit. I read all this, I sort of understand it, but not fully.
Actually, we're looking at phase 2, and in phase 1, we put a indication of our interest as 2.8 megawatts of base load power, 1.2 megawatts of intermediate power. We have identified different resources. Fatal flaw analysis has been done on all of those. The next phase is actually to sit down with the different resource providers and begin negotiating potential contracts. It also includes a transmission study. Just because a resource is available doesn't necessarily mean that we can get it here. We would be included with transmission study. Right now, we're not looking for the actual financial commitment. KBA is trying to aggregate the level of interest who wants to go into phase 2 so they can get a handle on what the actual cost is going to be per participant. But the maximum cost that's been established by the executive committee is $3 a kilowatt for this study phase. So if we put in for the 2.8 and the 1.2, cost to the city of Lindsborg would be a maximum of $12,000 plus pro rata share of the transmission study, which could be as little as a few $100 to $2,000. But until they have aggregated all the participants who want to participate in phase 2, that actual cost, I mean, it could be less than $2 a kilowatt, but the maximum is going to be $3.
Is there a time limit on the commitment from cities that yes, we are and no, we're not?
Yes. June 1 is the actual deadline for everybody to say, I'm in or I'm out.
And is there a goal of numbers of cities, or is it a goal of numbers of groups?
It's not so much, it's not so much the numbers of cities, it's the amount of load they have. I mean, you could have one city, and the reason I say, you could have one city that has like 20 megawatts of need. I mean, they can do it by themselves. Smaller cities like us can't. The different resource providers have a minimum requirement of what they'll sell as a block. One of the facilities is 40 megawatts. Our peak is 9, so you can just go to show you that we're not part of that game by ourselves. And so they have to get those numbers together, because some of the resources we were looking at, it includes nuclear, it includes coal, it includes gas right now for those 3 options. Some of those, if we don't in aggregate meet that minimum threshold, then they're no longer an option. So that's what they're trying to do right
But
now.
you think the message has gotten out? And,
Yes.
and does KMEA feel like cities are paying attention? I mean, they're on board?
Yes, I know you and some others, and WR and David attended the first set of meetings. There was another set after the preliminary phase 1 analysis. There's some that don't quite get it. The process has been modified. It was kind of like, everything aggregated together. Well, they're now making it an option for some cities to say, okay, well, I don't want to participate in that resource, but I want all of it from that resource.
They have given that option.
Yes. For us, it doesn't make sense because we don't have any of our own generation. The idea you want to pull from different resources is, one may be low cost today, but that doesn't mean it's going to be tomorrow, or it's even going to be around tomorrow. So it helps kind of smooth your costs over the long term.
So by June 1, what have we committed to?
Well, I'm asking you to commit to 4 kilowatt or 4 megawatts.
That's what that's what this is asking.
Yes. And then the actual cost, everything will be on the next, there'll be participation agreements, all different, allowing KBA to represent us in the SPP, Southwest Power Pool study, and a number of different, the actual sample documents are in the packet, and that will be the next round of documents we approve, but they would be completed in terms of level of our participation, costs, et cetera.
Well, I think we're doing a lot of discussion without a motion. So I'll move that we approve this and note also that the utility committee recommended. Second.
Have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
You're voting to spend the $12,000?
No, not at this time. There'll be a separate documents to do that. This is only the 4,000 or 4 megawatts commitment to have an indication of interest. Sorry.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Going on with something in this same vein is the generational formula rate agreement with Westar. And again, I think this is pretty well explained in here, and we're not asking for any money at this time, correct, Greg?
Correct.
And this is just an approval of this concept that we're moving into, correct?
No, what it is the actual, if you make the motion to approve this market-based rate interim contract, it would be to approve that contract.
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I have some comments to make. I'm going to recommend that you don't adopt your motion. Part of the reason for this market-based rate contract was we negotiated agreement with other parties and Westar. Not all parties were agreeable. Was filed at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Two of the parties filed an intervention. We filed an intervention also to protect our rights. The renegotiated contract had more benefits for us than the current contract we're under. This market-based, and it is a cost-based rate contract, not a market-based rate contract. And part of the intervention that we filed along with one of the other parties was that the filed agreement would be retroactive to March 1, which was going to be the original effective date. FERC had not ruled on that request. As of Friday, when this council packet was completed and sent out, got the actual ruling. Well, it came about 4:50 on Friday afternoon, that they are going to honor it or make it retroactive to March 1. There's still going to be a settlement process that we're going to have to go through, but at least from that standpoint, we're protected as a cost-based rate contract. So what will happen is we'll have to pay our current bills, but then once this filed agreement gets approved by FERC, then we will get reimbursed for all the things we paid up to this point.
So what you're telling me is if we adopt this, that's gonna be bad, because it won't.
This was going to be a level of protection. The market-based rate agreement was going to be a level of protection we don't currently have until this FERC ruling came out.
Which came out after the fact.
Yes.
Is,
And so
the reality
this-
is that supersedes this
Yes.
as far as priority.
Yes, yes. So I would just vote against the motion.
Yeah,
Or the motion can be withdrawn.
Either way.
the motion's for.
I think we should still vote.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye. Motion fails.
I personally am extremely grateful to Greg for all of the work he's done on this stuff. It is so complex and you have been such an integral part of it. I really respect what you did. No more money.
All right, I'm trying to find the next, there's so many articles in this whole thing.
Page 148, if you're
Okay, next item is recreation affiliation. Dave, you want to give us a brief rundown on this, please?
Yeah. So basically with the recreation affiliation, that was just the issue with the ball field complex and whether or not we were comfortable with allowing teams that had more kids on them, but were playing elsewhere, whether it was a slam or a team, whatever, or just a traveling team, whether or not we wanted to allow them to use our fields or not. And we had to go through and talk to our insurance providers to see what the coverage was there if we were to do so that.
Okay, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
A motion to approve and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
Just as a point of information, on the back of the document, it defines what the affiliation is, and then kind of lays out the basic guidelines of the affiliated teams' use of generous fields.
Okay, next item is the recreation vehicle replacement. Heck, while you're up there, just go ahead and give us that too.
So yeah, we need a new recreation vehicle. We currently have the 99 Pontiac Energy. It's a four-door sedan for our youth and recreation department. We really need a truck so we can haul around all our equipment and use some for various events around town. So there's just some bids there for a pickup truck. And literally we got 3 more this past week. For Malone Carter, it's landed on 3 F-150s. And then 1 bid from Midway Motors and McPherson on another F-150, and as well as Marshall Motors over in Savannah on a 2014
And you looked into these,
Ram.
and your choice is what?
I think I kind of lean towards the F-150s. I personally never drove the truck before, so I don't really have a lot of insight on them.
And community, agree with her.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, for what they're gonna use it for, the mileage, years, any of them really are gonna work.
I think we just, and in committee too, we wanted her to get some more local bids.
Yeah.
Because we just had some outside
And now,
bids.
now we have Midway, and Midway's well within 10% of the other ones that are within the counties.
thank you.
All right, like, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we purchase 2014 F-150 from Midway Motors in the person, including trade-in for $17,069.
There's a second.
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Becky?
Yes.
Ema?
Yes.
David? Yes. Debbie?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Blaine?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Next item is playground mulch. It's kind of self-explanatory. We entertain a motion on playground mulch.
Make a motion, we replace and add to the Viking Valley Playground, the amount of $2,155 90 yards of ball. Second?
From Foster Brothers.
Yes.
There was a second. Any discussion?
I have a question. In the community foundation, there was a fund in there?
Playground improvement fund, yes.
Yeah. Well, where does that money come from and where does it go?
Well, the money came from the leftover from where the Viking Valley was constructed. That playground committee chose to set up a fund to it for future improvements. We have received money from it in the past, but it's only been like just a few $100s. So we have made the, I should say, you as council have made the decision to go ahead and put that money back in and try to grow that so that when we do receive an amount out of that, it's more substantial. And instead of doing let's say, playground mulch that, you know, I mean, not that it's not an improvement,
It's just regular maintenance.
yeah, it's more of a maintenance item as a improvement. And that's what's happened. Every year we get an allotment of money.
So
It's actually excuse me, in an organizational fund, it's actually the interest that's been earned
Yes.
collectively by the foundation. And you get a statement once a year that says you have this much money to grant if you want to.
But my question is, this committee 10 years ago, is it the same?
The committee has nothing to do with.
Okay, so actively soliciting funds to go into this,
There's no way.
no. And so would it be up to the city to be the driver of that?
Yes.
And so if, and I don't know, Gary, if you have a wish list for that, for the playground, I have no idea. I mean, it's stuff, you want to have to do something with it.
Well, certainly, we have a focus in the work program on Swanson Park.
Right.
The necessities of town.
But the money that's in the community foundation is specifically for Viking Valley?
No, just playground improvements.
Okay, so that could be.
It's that broad, yes, it can be used down there, it can be used, yes. Or it can be something, you want to put something in Carlson Park. It doesn't limit it to
It's not a
Viking.
Viking Valley fund?
No.
Okay. So, okay, what happened to what? $500, $1,000, $1,500?
How much is in the fund? Or are you wanting to know?
I've just been in a lot of conversations lately about community foundation, so I didn't realize that there was this fund that was in there.
No, it's a good question.
Well, bear with me, it was, the report was, okay.
Yeah, didn't we just,
Yeah, it came out last Friday's report.
is it in the Friday report then?
Yes, I'm bringing it up.
That's
Lindsborg Playground Improvement Fund, fund balance right now is $13,890.59. Available to spend is $501.
So at this time, what we're doing is whatever interest is accrued there, we just set it back into the fund.
That's what we have done,
That's what we have.
yes.
Okay.
And we usually get that check, I think, October, somewhere around that time.
Were you aware that there was that much money in there? Gary?
Yes.
Interest rates are pretty low right now. I mean, what are we actually getting out of that? What's our rate on that?
Well, I guarantee you this, Smoky Valley Community Foundation is getting better than the CD. They're managed pretty well. They're highly
It's usually
respected.
double digits.
Yeah, I mean, it's
More than
very,
five then?
Yes, yeah, they perform very well.
yeah, they've exceeded on a national level what most foundations and community foundations have done.
So is any new initiatives for recreation in our parks comes from Gary's office? Or does it come, is this something that is this something that Kate's involved with? Is it recreation? Is it only parks? I guess I'm just trying to understand
You have to define park.
what that is.
Yeah, because a ball field might not be the same as a playground.
Okay.
Or maybe it is.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I can't answer that question. I don't know. Without looking at the actual documents that set up that particular fund.
Well, $13,000 is, sees that, and, is there a use for it? Is there a wish list? Is there a plan?
But isn't that part of the endowed?
That's the
It's
endowed
endowment.
portion. Yeah, that's
I
not
know
bad.
that, I know that,
So you
but I
have to
mean,
track it.
if you wanted to say, we're going to build, whatever, some fabulous something in the park, and it's gonna take, $50,000 in there. You've got 13 to go towards 50, if we committed that, and saying, that now this park's gonna spend $50,000 in it, because we want to realize 5,000. I mean, going out and looking for gifts, actually soliciting
fundraisers or gifts. I think that's how things happen in communities. I mean, that's how the playground happened. It happened because people said, we want to have this happen. And so we as a city said, okay, we'll give some additional money. And then the community got committee together and they went out and dreamt and made it happen.
Okay, we had a motion and a second, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We're back on, we came full circle, back on Holtz, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm on the right page. Okay. Roll call, please.
Kelly.
Yes.
Betty.
Yes.
Blaine.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Debbie.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Eno.
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
All right, the next item is the golf cart rental. This is from Kansas Golf and Turf. And the lease, this was how many golf carts again?
10.
10, okay. And I would entertain a motion on this item.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve the lease from Kansas Golf and Turf in the amount of $7,500.
Seconded.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, Darren, on this, I noted that underneath these prices, it says Everbank 350 lease dock fee one time. Is that in addition to the 7,500?
Yeah.
So we would need an amendment to make it 7,850, not 7,500, correct?
And my question comes up each time, do we make enough money in the rental to pay for this plus?
Oh, 20,000?
Minimum, the gross revenue is $25,000 minimum on these cards.
Is that yearly or?
That's yearly.
Yeah, so I mean, this is very.
And then 7,500 is yearly.
And you would see a significant loss of green fees if you didn't have all cars to rent. That's the other portion of that. With permission of the secretary, I'll withdraw my motion and amend it to read, withdraw. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve $7,850 for the lease from Kansas Golf and Turf with associated fees.
Second.
All right, now we have a new motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Thanks for catching.
Hearing none, roll call, please.
Becky.
Yes.
Eno.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Debbie.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Blaine.
Yes.
Betty.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is the street condition assessment agreement. This is from a listening company to perform a street study. And this will all the data is collected, produced, be incorporated into the city's GIS program for use by city staff. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to go with Wilson and Co. for our street study project not to exceed $23,027.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Are these, is Wilson and Company the only game in town? I mean, do we ever put these out for bids with other companies?
To answer your first question, no, they're not. To answer your second question, typically we have it on streets properties.
I just heard a lot of comments, and after having been on this council for a long time. Their fees are really high. And I would just like to know if there's something else out there. I mean, I have no suggestions who it would be. But, I mean, we always ask for bids on everything else. Why not on bids?
interpreted.
Why not on this?
The last time we went and bid it out for a project, the streets project, it was on Swenson and East Lincoln, East Swenson, East Lincoln. We had so many problems. We had so many rewrites of plans. We had so many things that we missed. Gas lines, sewer lines, water lines, they missed them all. We spent so much extra money and extra time. And then we turn around, we use the same engineering group for water because they have that expertise. Over the years, we've developed, Wilson is really good at streets, and I know there was discussion back when Harrison Cole was first put in, but their design proved out to be right. We use PEC for wastewater because they have the expertise, they have the background with our city, and we use Wilson because they have the background with our city.
But hasn't a lot changed since then with our own mapping and our locating things so we know where all the meters and and everything is? So there shouldn't be oversights like that with a new company coming in?
I think that depends on the quality of the company, the person looking at it. You can give them all the information in the world, but if they're an imbecile, they're not gonna see it.
So for the state of Kansas, Wilson does all the work.
No, but they've done, since before I was here, they've been doing it. You said you've had questions. What kind of questions have you got?
People have just, I've asked questions of people just to say, what do you know about Wilson Company? They're expensive.
No, they're not.
Okay? And so you're saying they're not?
No.
I have no answers.
I don't believe they are. In fact, I told them that I had a budget I wanted to hit, and they took $7,000 off what they initially quoted us. I know that the vice president of the local vice president, he's I shouldn't even say this on TV. He's going to donate a lot of his time just to get us the product that we want out of this. That's how we cut $7,000. I think they're hungry, they're aggressive, they've never failed us. They have never failed us. And others have.
It's just, I guess, in so many other areas of the city, we always ask for bids.
And equipment we do, and we have, like I said, when we did East Lincoln and East Swenson, we bid that out.
We've been the engineering
There was that company from,
We
Yes.
use on water. They designed our water system, beautiful system, works great, never can water. They didn't do so well in the streets.
Oh, that particular streets project, what we saved in engineering, we made up for in change orders.
I have 6 sheets down there, one street, changes we had to make. Talk about the Granville being mess.
Tim, are you saying that Wilson has maintained a database of historical city data on locations that makes them sit down in the driver's seat?
Everything they've ever engineered, yes, they have that. I've made data available. I have my own database available. And given that to them to make this history from. And they'll be able to incorporate with our existing GIS. So it's kind of a mix of data right now.
Do they typically have the same people working on the projects, our projects?
Depending on what direction you're going. If it's a street construction project, it's one engineer. One I've been working with most, he's like vice president now. He did the trail, which turned out pretty well. And we had to do several jobs. He designed to build a paving of East Union Street that didn't go through for lack of funding. it just depends on their expertise. We had a study on water and wastewater, what it take in the property the city purchased at my subway. And there's a different engineer for that. It just depends on what discipline you're looking at for a particular project.
But in terms of this particular project, it's more than just having something to plug into our GIS database. It's actual assessment and development of a plan, because over the last several years, streets have been neglected. We're now at a point where we need to really consider putting money back into them. We're going to have to prioritize how we do that. They're going to do that assessment, make recommendations, put projected costs, so that we have that for budgeting purposes and prioritization purposes.
So to answer the question that was asked of me do we get bids for engineering study? No.
Typically, we develop relationships with different engineering firms that have primarily expertise in a certain field.
Further discussion? Do you have a motion to second?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Kelly?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Blaine?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
W.R.?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Eva?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
All right, the next item is the phone software upgrade. The last software program was installed in 2005, and it's having issues. Is that correct?
Yes, we've had issues, plus our version of software
Is it supported?
isn't supported. So, in lieu of buying a whole new phone system, which would be in the 5 digits, we're recommending upgrading the software in the amount of $1,794.20.
I move that we accept that.
Second.
That is from.
Yes.
Okay.
Does this
Any
software,
discussion?
does this software incorporate the notification system?
No, that is a web-based system.
Okay, so that's separate.
That is separate, yes.
How long do you think they're going to support this current version? Do they have a habit of giving up support after a certain number of years?
Yeah,
It's not the company we're buying it from, but who gives us support.
no, it's the actual phone manufacturer, which is Iwatsu. This company has actually supported this for 8 years. I think we're 5 versions away. I mean, there's been 5 upgrades of the software since our version, but they continue to support it during that whole time frame, so,
But we have no guarantee.
no.
They don't spell it out or anything.
We need a motion on this.
Yes, we did. We have a motion to second.
Good. All right.
That should be coffee.
That should be coffee, right. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
W.R.
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Eva?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Blake?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
All right, next item is KDOT supplemental agreement, Highway K4. Who wants to speak about that?
I will. This is a supplement in the background. This is a agreement for the second Clink grant we received. We got one in 2012 for redoing the Person Street or K4 from Cole to Main Street. We were actually able to get a second agreement or a second grant, which actually reduced our match. So we'll be receiving a maximum of $400,000 from KDOT for that project. And this is to supplement that original agreement with the awarding of the second grant.
So basically, you are asking our approval to accept the grant funding in the amount of $400,000?
No, to approve, you've already accepted the money, we need to approve the agreement, accept the agreement.
So,
Is there a second? That was motion. Okay. Is there a second?
second.
Any further discussion? Do we need roll call on this or just,
I don't think so, we're not testing everybody.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
When does that start?
Tim?
It will bid the, I believe it's the 26th of May, and the construction documents call for construction to be either between July and August for a final construction or completion date of, I believe, like October 15th.
Do they do both lanes at one time, or?
Yes, they will. We'll keep an opening across First Street. But, overall, we'll have a little bit of that. We're going to close the whole thing down.
Listen. Yeah, what's up now? Oh. Dale, give you a copy of the proclamation. I think, did you come in after we did that?
Yes. Yeah, they told me 7, but obviously it was earlier. I'm sorry to have been late. Thank you.
All right.
Or I guess I should make sure it was passed.
Oh, no. Thank you. All right. No others, let's move on to Public Safety Committee.
A member from the Rural Fire Department, representing the Fire Department, Brad Sugarin, came to the committee to recommend an increase in the stipend from $2,300 per year to, it was actually, the request was different than what we decided, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was originally for $8,000, and we backed it down to $6,300 because they are going to do their own contracting with the chief to do truck repair and stuff, right? So what I don't recall though was when this was going to be effective because they're paid a yearly stipend. Or is this to be retroactive to the first calendar year or back to, I don't recall when this becomes effective, is my question, I'm sorry.
Well, I think what was discussed in the committee was that it would be, pay the full stipend, and they receive that stipend in the fire department on an annual basis, or is it chief get a quarterly, Mary? I can't remember.
Yearly.
Late November, early December.
Okay, so, all right, you're a little confusing my fiscal year, my calendar year again. Okay, so the motion is to recommend approval of an increase in the stipend from $2,300 annually to $6,300 annually. And that was a sloppy motion.
Or you could just make the motion to approve ordinance number 4866. Makes it so much simpler.
You know, now that I've had a chance to think about it, I would make a motion to approve adoption of ordinance number 4866, which does indeed increases annual stipend. Something to assist.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. We need to do roll call on this one.
It's an ordinance, so yes. Becky?
Yes.
Ema?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
WR? Yes. Rick?
Yes.
Blaine?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
purchase order number 4867.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Or we need roll call?
Roll call, yes.
Sorry.
Kelly?
Yes.
Betty?
Yes.
Blaine?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Yes, you are. David? Yes. Email?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
We have consideration of payroll ordinance 4863, 4864, and 4865. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Let's finish right. Roll call.
Rick?
Sure. Yes.
Blaine? Yes. Betty?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
WR? Yes. David?
Yes.
Email?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
And number 11, other, you know,
I move to go into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss real estate purchase and to include the city administrator.
is there a second?
Second. And I have a question. It's just the city administrator, not the city attorney as well?
Just city administrator.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 15 minutes, chief?
You guys don't stand in the doorway because the city attorney already